Welcome back to the Imperfect Podcast. In this episode, I have one of my dearest friends who I've known for the longest time, it feels like, joining me today, and we're talking about something that I think is going to be really interesting and really fun to talk about. So, without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Miss Valory Myers. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Valory, and I've known Gabby for a while. We went to school together for a little bit, but we mostly connected through musical theater. We did a lot of summer camps together, and we've been really close friends. We've done dance classes. We've just been growing up in the performing arts together, and it's been a blast.
Yeah. So, what exactly inspired your love for theater?
So I was exposed to so much music and art from a young age. Both my parents, I mean, their day jobs are scientists, but they both are musicians and creatives at heart. And so they were always there was music around the house. We were always going to see performances. We saw anything from musical theaters, like national tours, to rock concerts, to ballets. Like they would just take any opportunity they could to expose my sister and I to the arts. And so we were just always naturally drawn to it. And I mean, I knew that I always wanted to perform. And so I started at a pretty young age. I started going to classes, acting classes. I took up singing lessons, dance classes, all that. But it wasn't until I saw my first Broadway show that I knew for sure that like this is what I need to dedicate my life to. Like there's no other option. I mean, I know I could go and do whatever else, but this is my happy place. And so I saw Matilda, the musical on Broadway, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I need to be doing.
Yeah. Do you remember when we did a dance to Revolting Children and
yeah, and I was Bruce.
Oh my gosh.
I got to sing Bruce, and oh my goodness, just that show, that music, it's such a good one. And it was such a weird one to have as my first show on Broadway because it's not one of the classics, it's not West Side Story, it's not Phantom of the Opera, but gosh, it really just solidified my love and my dedication to this craft.
Yeah. So I know that you are in a show right now. You're in Legally Blonde as Elle freaking Woods. Oh my gosh, Valory. Dude,
oh my gosh.
Valory is one of the most talented people I have ever met in my whole life. Like,
you
girl.
Seventh grade Valory is screaming right now. Like, I used to want to be Elle Woods so bad. I mean, I still do, and it's still surreal. I pinch myself every day. But I remember discovering the soundtrack to Legally Blonde in the 7th grade, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be her. Like, I love her. I remember watching the movie. I was like, this is me. Like, this is the role. And now it's finally happening. And so it's crazy. It's a dream.
Yeah.
Come see it. We open in June. First 2 weeks in June, we perform, we run. We have 8 shows. It's dinner theater. If you're in the Baltimore area, come see it. Suburban.
Yes. And I will tag Valory on the Instagram post as I do all of my guests. So be sure to follow her and check out her Instagram and all of the information that she has linked, I'm sure, everywhere. Because this is so exciting. Yeah.
Thanks for the ad. Thanks for the promo.
Oh, of course. So I did want to ask, what has been your favorite show or your favorite role that you have been so far?
That's such a hard question. Gosh, I think every role is so different in that I uncover a new layer of myself. That sounds so cheesy, but I've played characters who I definitely needed to play, not just for my resume, not just for, to sing this big song, but to learn about myself and to kind of help me through my personal struggles and whatever I'm dealing with. I think Nina Rosario was a really, really important character for me to play in the Heights. My freshman year of high school, I was Nina Rosario, and that was just, it was a dream, first of all, getting a lead my freshman year. That was big, but also just her as a character. She's a girl who puts a lot of pressure on herself and who feels like there's so much pressure to do well from her community, but really just discovers in the end that everyone will love her no matter what. And I think that was so important for me as a freshman, and for me in a rigorous academic program, to understand like everyone's going to love you no matter what you do. Like if you're just true to yourself and if you're just doing your best, it doesn't matter if you necessarily succeed or fail, whatever that means in your mind, as long as you're doing the best you can and doing what's true to you, everyone's going to be fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that is a lesson that a lot of people need to learn. And I know for myself too, like, I put so much pressure on myself in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different aspects. Like, literally, my first goal, the only goal that I had when I transferred to John Carroll, the only goal that I had in my head was to get a 4.0 GPA, because I was like, first of all, it's junior year, second of all, it's a new school. And like,
Yeah.
and I got a B last quarter in one of my classes, and I was really upset about it at first, and I like tried everything that I could to bring it up, but it wasn't a low B either. And I did, like, I earned that B, and as weird as that sounds, because if you're striving for an A B, is lower than what you want, but I earned it, and I
Mhm.
was proud of it, because everything that I did leading up to that grade, I gave 100%. And being able to come to terms with that after setting such like high expectations for myself was something that, like, it took me aback, and it made me realize, like, it's really not, that it doesn't matter as much. And even though I have one B on my report card, like, that doesn't change how everyone sees me. So
No, and I think it's so prominent, especially in the performing community, like this idea of perfectionism and like, I need to do this and that and the other thing. I need to win this award. I need to, get this mark. And I think that transfers, I mean, into school, obviously, very clearly with grades. And I mean, you're such a great student, you've always been. And so I think we set these expectations for ourselves and don't realize that we don't have to be the model student, the model performer all the time. We are human, and we can mess up or not do as well as we want to, but that doesn't mean that it taints our complete reputation as those things.
right. And I feel like, for me, having an older brother who is very academically inclined in things like math and science, which I liked science, but that side of school was never really my strong suit. um but I had to realize that my brother might be really good at math, but I'm really good at English, and I'm really good with the music side of things, whereas he's really good at like the technical side of things. And that's okay. Like, I don't have to be my brother. And even though I feel like there's all this pressure to live up to, like, the precedents that he's setting, no one wants me to live up to that. They just want me to do the best that I can. And I feel like that's something that anyone who has a sibling, or anyone who has like a cousin or a really close friend,
Mhm.
or anyone that they look up to, or someone who succeeds in something better than they do, I think that is something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's taken me a while to realize, like, I'm allowed to make mistakes, because that's part of being human. I'm allowed to, feel emotions, because that's also part of being human.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be my brother. You know what I mean?
No, it's so important. And sibling pressure is so real. But yeah, you don't have to be your brother. Like, that's a perfect way to put it. And I mean, I have a little sister, and we've had conversations about feeling pressure from each other because we two are like pretty different in our strengths. And I mean, we grew up doing the same things, but we eventually, our paths diverged, and
Mm-hmm.
we kind of came into our own. And so I completely get it too.
Yeah. So anyone listening at home, that's definitely going to be something that I touch on again at the end of the episode. I always end my episodes with a good note. So definitely keep that in the back of your head, that you are allowed to be your own person. You're supposed to be your own person, and you don't have to, be anyone else or live up to anyone else's expectations. You just have to, I guess you would just, have to live a life that you're proud of. Like, just be proud of
Yes.
yourself. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and stop worrying about what other people think, because as long as you're living a life that you're proud of, as long as you're feeling the things you want to feel in your full capacity, as long as you're doing what you want to do in their full capacity, like you are living the way you need to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, Valory has recently gotten into pageantry. So I wanted to ask, have you always wanted to do pageantry? What inspired you to, step into this field?
I was always intrigued by pageantry. I never really knew much about it. I just, I'd seen the movies and been like, oh, they're fighting over a crown, they're wearing pretty dresses, like that seems cool. And it was just like this enigma to me. Like I didn't really have any knowledge, but I thought it looked cool. And it kind of reminded me of performing almost. You get to dress up, you get to be on stage. It had those elements that I loved. And I realized throughout the process, like it is a lot like performing, except you get to play yourself. You get to represent your own values. You get to create your own image the way you want people to view you. And I think that's really an important lesson to learn. It also transfers to college. I mean, the way you want people to see you when they're hiring you for a job, or like accepting you into a school, it really was instrumental in teaching me those things. And so, yeah, I didn't really know much about it going in, but being able to learn about it was extremely, extremely important for me and the other aspects of my life.
Yeah. So walk us through the process of a pageant. What exactly happens?
Good question. That's interestingly enough, that's a very complicated question. So it really depends on the system that you're competing in. And, a lot of people don't know that there are different systems within pageantry. So you've got like Miss America, you've got your Miss USA, Miss Universe. So I competed for Miss USA, Miss Universe with Miss Maryland Teen USA. And I kind of just like went out on a whim and applied one day, and then like got a phone call and they were like, hi, we're interested. Do this interview process. So you go through a phone call interview process to begin with. It's not too extensive, but it's enough. And you definitely have to give them a lot of information about yourself, and they definitely get to learn you personality wise and make sure that you're the right candidate for someone they would want as a state finalist. So I went through a few interview phone call processes, and I eventually made it to the state finalist round, and I got to go compete at the pageant, and it was amazing. So for USA Universe, there are 3 categories you compete in. There's interview, which is just you and the judges in a room for nothing but 2 minutes, and you have to just give them like your entire personality within 2 minutes. And that's probably the most nerve-wracking part, honestly. It's not walking on stage in high heels. It's sitting in that room and expressing everything you need to them for them to get to know you within 2 minutes. It's insane. So you got to have your talking points laid out. That's what I learned. And then there's evening gown, which is self-explanatory. You're in an evening gown and you're walking on stage. And then there's activewear, or if you're a Miss contestant, which is the adult contestants, then you do swimwear. And so activewear is just like a sports bra and leggings, and you're kind of just bouncing around on stage. In Miss America, actually, they have you like do a fitness routine and do like push-ups on stage. I didn't have to do any of that, but it differs based on the pageant. But yeah, so 3 categories for at least for Universe.
That's so cool. So who did you first talk to when getting into modeling and pageantry? Who has helped you the most throughout this process?
Thankfully, I was lucky enough to kind of stumble upon an amazing mentor. So I had signed on to model for this boutique. It was just freelance, unpaid modeling work. I hadn't signed with an agency at this point. They just kind of contacted me through Instagram. This shout out Cecile Boutique in Newark, Delaware. They signed me on to be one of their models for the year, to model their homecoming collections and prom collections and whatever they had. And I was there to do a shoot with them, and I was talking to one of the representatives for the boutique, and I was like, yeah, I signed up for this Miss Maryland Teen USA, and like I don't know about pageants really, and I'm looking for a coach. I guess I should find a coach. Is that what people do? And she's like, well, actually, the owner of this boutique has been Miss Delaware like 3 times. And I was like, well, she sounds perfect. Set me up with her. And I met Shanna, the owner of Cecile Boutique, and we just clicked immediately. She became my coach, of course, and just one of the biggest mentors for me, not only in pageantry, but just as a woman. Like, she really taught me so much about strength and so much about resilience, which was kind of like the theme of my time in my first Miss Maryland Teen USA pageant. Resilience was really the theme because I was going through a lot of stuff at home at the time. My parents had separated, and I was just trying to find this inner strength. And so having this strong female role model, other than my mom, who was also an extremely strong female role model, was really instrumental in that process for me. And so I just kind of like stumbled on this awesome person that I clicked with, who understood me, who really knew how to teach me in the way I needed to learn to succeed in the pageant. And I ended up winning 3rd runner-up. So that was pretty cool. Great job training me. But yeah, and I mean, all the ladies at the boutique were awesome. My family was super supportive. My mom especially. She drove me to all my dress fittings, and all of my training sessions. My friends came and saw me in the pageant, which was really awesome. And yeah, I met some really, really cool people.
Yeah, and like back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Back to what you were saying about you know, your mentor not just helping you with pageantry, but also kind of being a life coach in a way. I feel like that's something that people kind of, push under the table when it comes to pageantry. Is like, it's not just pretty women walking around in pretty dresses. It's like there's stories that are being told. There's, you're speaking out for things, you're standing up for things. And I feel like the conversations that happen in pageantry are so important, but I feel like so many people go blind to that because they're like, oh yeah, pageantry, just people walking around in dresses and high heels.
Right.
So I feel like that's super cool that we're able to, talk about it, because I feel like a light needs to be shown.
Yeah, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. Like, I mean, from the outside looking in, I totally understand how it looks extremely surface level. I get it. And I mean, there is that element. It is like a beauty competition in some way, shape, and form, but there's so much more, certainly, beneath the surface.
Yeah. So were there any hardships that you had to face when starting out in, either modeling or in pageantry? Whether it be with like relationships or struggling to find people to contact and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, doing anything for the first time is scary and daunting. I didn't really know where to start. Like I said, I hadn't had any experience. I just knew what I'd seen in movies and in the media and whatever. But so I found my coach just by happenstance, and that was amazing. But I was signed on by an agency through the pageant, actually, and that was interesting because, again, like I was kind of new to all of this. I had done unpaid modeling, but I'd never been signed on, and I didn't really know how to like read the contracts, and I was just like this new bright-eyed fresh face who I felt like I was probably easy to take advantage of. And not that I did get taken advantage of, but I definitely was worried that I wouldn't be smart enough about the business side of
Mm-hmm.
this to necessarily benefit myself in the best way possible, which is why I've chosen my major in college, arts and entertainment management. I want to be a smart client, and I want to make sure that I'm ensuring the best future for myself and my career. But yeah, did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So speaking of college, oh my gosh, where are you going? That's so
I,
exciting.
Oh my gosh, I'm very excited. I'm going to Pace University in Manhattan. And I'm going for, like I said, arts and entertainment management. I'm going to get my BBA, which is my Bachelor of Business Administration. And I'm really excited. I planned on going for my acting BFA, and I got into Marymount Manhattan. And that was my original plan. But I realized, with COVID especially, it really opened my eyes. I was like, there aren't that many performing opportunities right now. I mean, I want to put food on the table. I don't want to be a starving artist, as they say. And that was always something I struggled with. I was always like, well, I don't need a fallback plan, because then I won't fall back and I can just be an actress and I'll be great and I'll get jobs because that's my destiny, or whatever I told myself. But the reality is, you need something. You need a job, you need stability, because stability feels good. And if you don't have that, you're going to be miserable. So I'm excited to pursue my major.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I can't believe I didn't even think to like ask you that.
No, it's
I
okay.
can't get it through my head that like your class is the
Uh,
same class this year.
right.
Like I literally cannot even believe it.
Oh, I can't either, to be honest with you.
That's so crazy.
I feel old.
Oh man, I literally remember like watching you and Brady in oh my gosh, what was
Oh,
it called?
Princess, what's her name?
Yes, Princess, what's her
I
name?
was talking with my mom about that today. I was like, do you remember?
Oh my gosh.
She was like, was Gabby in that? Because we were talking about you, because I told her I was doing this later.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, but she supported us all the way through it.
Yeah. I was oh my gosh, I was literally so excited to come and see it. I don't know why I wasn't in it.
I know. You should have totally been. It was like, I mean, I kind of forced our teacher, our chorus teacher, to do a show. I was like, it's my 8th grade year. Like, I'll be in high school next year. Let's please do a show. She was like, fine.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. It feels like just yesterday I took that picture with you in like your literal Glinda dress.
I
Like
know. One of my favorite costumes.
oh
No
yes.
kidding.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, like what you were saying about, having some sort of a fallback plan. I mean, I want to go into music. Music is my
Mhm.
life and, music to me is theater to you. It's
Right?
our happy place.
Yeah.
But, being a musician and making my own music, it'll only take me as far as, the streams and stuff take me. Like I have a song out now, but I've literally made like maybe $8 because it's fine because I don't care right now. But when it gets to college and stuff like that, I feel like like you were saying, I want to be able to put food on the table, and like that's why I want to go into music therapy,
Yes.
just music. That way I'm also helping people, and it's like combining two of my loves. So I think
Yes.
that's such a cool piece of advice to anyone who's trying to find their major. If you're worried that you're not going to have like a fallback plan, or that your major's not going to take you very far, because of opportunities in society and stuff, definitely look into a major that relates to what you love to do. So you'll still be able to do it, just maybe not in the same way that you always have, if that makes sense.
So true. And like, that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I can give. And I mean, I haven't started my major. I'm still in high school, and I'll be graduating in a month. I'm so excited. But
Oh my gosh, you have a month.
right. But anyway, if you can pick up some sort of other piece of what you love to do that translates more into the money making side of, you can also have so much knowledge and gain so much knowledge about your craft through that you can apply to
Mhm.
to yourself as an artist. And that's probably one of the most beneficial things. And so as long as you have a passion, you can translate your passion into any form you need it to be able to make money. It just, like you said, might not be exactly what you envisioned, but you can still continue with that.
Right. Yeah. So back to pageantry and
Yeah.
modeling. So What are the most challenging things about pageantry and modeling?
Um, I think it's a lot about the pressure. I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure put on you. I mean, personally, we put pressure on ourselves as perfectionists, like we were saying, but it's pageantry, it's a competition. At the end of the day, one girl gets the crown and you're competing against all these other amazing women. And so that can definitely get to you if you're a competitive person, or if you aren't a competitive person, it can really make you feel very out of your comfort zone. Also just the time dedication, gosh, like you need to be ready if you're going to compete, if you're going to model. Like, it's a selfish sport. It really is. Like, you dedicate a lot of money, a lot of your time, a lot of your whole routine will revolve around prep. You're going to spend a lot of time in the gym preparing your stage body. You're going to spend a lot of time preparing for interviews and learning what to say and learning how to convey yourself in the best way possible and speak, which seems so easy, but really it's not, when you get to it. And it can be cutthroat in both industries, pageantry and modeling. It can be extremely cutthroat, but I try not to view it that way. I see it as making connections, more or less, because the more connections you have in the industry, the happier you'll be, and also the better off you'll be, because gosh, like once you know people, you're getting hired for things because you know this other person or that other person. And also, like, just as a people person, I love meeting people and making connections and finding new mentors. It's such a journey for me every time I'm signed on to do another thing. And so I love that part about it, but it can be difficult to separate the competition aspect and the getting jobs over other people or vice versa from the making friends part of it.
Yeah, and I feel a similar way, because as a rising musician, I've made friends with other people who are also trying to make it big in the industry, and I don't think it's hit me yet that we're technically competitors, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, let's sing a song together. Like, let's be best friends. So yeah, definitely I feel I'm the same way. As like, I don't like to think of it as a competition. I like thinking of it of like, yeah, no, I have all these friends that can play all these instruments and sing all these songs with me. And, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm doing this now. I feel like when I can shout someone out on my story, or, just, spread word about anyone, any chance that I get, I'll do it and give them as much publicity as I can. Even though I don't have that many followers, I just feel like as someone who's also growing in that industry, like, I would want someone to do it for me. So there's really no reason that I wouldn't do it for them.
That's such a good philosophy to have. Connections over competition any day. And like collaborating with others in the industry, that's so powerful. Like, you just become a force of nature when you collab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so great to have that exposure and to meet those people. And I think that you're doing it completely the way that you need to. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like that goes for, even if it's not like a career path sort of competition, but even if it's like a sport or any kind of like um, I don't know, I just in any aspect really, I feel like you know people are stronger together than they are apart. And just imagine, like, how sour life would be if every day you were focusing on the fact that like you had to be better than someone else. Like,
Such
wouldn't
a
you
sad
be so
existence, right?
right? You would be so much happier knowing like you could wake up in the morning and do something with someone that you both love.
Yes,
So,
totally.
even if that means that they have, one leg up in the race, um still you get to do it together, and you get to both have fun, and you get to make each other happy.
Mhm. And
And
they can act as a mentor.
right, exactly. And this is something that my mom told me. She was like, there's always going to be someone out there who's better than you. Like, you could be amazing, but there's always going to be, because we all have idols, we all like look up to
Mhm.
people. So there's always going to be someone who's better than you, even if I think which I don't, but even if I think I'm like, the most talented kid in my school, or like, you know I can sing the best out of everyone in my chorus or whatever. Like, there are musicians that I look up to every day that, like, their songs get stuck in my head, and all I want to do is, like, sit down and have a conversation with them and talk about, like, how I can make myself better. And, and I use that. And, like, I'm not saying that I don't think I have a gift because, I like to sing and
Oh,
I
you
know that I'm.
definitely do.
But I feel like since I'm aware of a gift that I have, I
Mhm.
want to use that to help other people, and I don't want to live my whole life being like, yeah, I'm better than everyone. Like, if you're not on my level, which no one is. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like since I have been given a gift, I want to use that to help other people. And since I have goals and aspirations, I need to humble myself and realize that, like, there's always going to be someone better than me.
That's such a beautiful way to put that.
Yeah.
And like use your power for good.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have that power completely.
Yeah. And I feel like that's something that, I reference music a lot because it's my thing.
Yeah, it's such a big part of your life.
Yeah, but I feel like lessons like that translate to anything.
So true.
Yeah. So keep that one in the back of your heads too, guys.
Some
um,
truths are being dropped tonight.
yeah. Yeah, this is like, I should change the name of the podcast to, like, I don't know, like the facts or like
Truth
something like
bombs with
that.
Gabby Mark.
We're spitting straight facts over here.
Straight facts, baby.
So, are there any stereotypes or assumptions that you can confirm or deny about either modeling or pageantry or both?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think the media is pretty harsh towards both, especially now. I mean, as wonderful and as essential as body acceptance is, it comes down really hard on the industries such as pageantry and modeling, where I guess like a thinner, more lean physique is promoted. And of course, not everyone is going to have those physiques. And when I went to that pageant, I saw girls of all shapes and sizes, and they were all amazing and gorgeous and knew what they were doing and perfectly worthy of the crown. And same with modeling. Like, there's so many different bodies that need to be represented. I mean, a lot of models are contracted to model for clothes, and like everyone wears clothes. So you need like people who represent everybody. And so I think like that part of the industry is a little tricky to navigate. I mean, there is pressure to maintain a certain figure, of course, especially for like runway, which I've never done, but it's definitely an aspiration for myself. I'm just near the cutoff for height of runway. I'm 5'8", and sometimes I fib and say I'm 5'9", and like that's the cutoff. That's the shortest you can runway. So I'm trying to get there. But yeah, so that's definitely part of it. But pageantry, I was almost surprised completely and just taken aback by how sweet everyone is and how, it sounds cheesy, but how much of a sisterhood it is, because you watch the movies like Miss Congeniality and you're like, whoa, like they are cutthroat, they are out for blood. And maybe some girls are, but the girls that I encountered at Miss Maryland Teen were nothing but sweet. I've made connections that I still have to this day. And, I talked to my roommate all the time, my roommate from the weekend of the pageant, and the other girls I met, and just like I met some really amazing women. And it's such a collaborative, congenial place rather than like I'm gonna win and you're gonna lose ever.
Yeah. And I think that's important because I actually I know someone through the birthmark community who has had surgeries on her birthmark before, and there's obviously a little bit of scarring because that's what happens when you go under the laser.
Yeah.
um, but I mean, she's absolutely stunning. But she's into pageantry, and she's the sweetest person ever. And growing up, I've never really seen anyone in the media who has the difference that I have. And in talking with people from the birthmark community, that tends to be a common theme, is we don't really see people with birthmarks, like with vascular birthmarks represented in the media. And so the fact that we did an ambassador live stream with her, and she was, sharing her story and everything, and she's won a couple times, and, she posts pictures in her dresses, and you can see her glowing. And I feel like in a moment like that, every beauty standard just goes out the door, and she's like, if I feel like Superwoman, then I am Superwoman, and no one can change my mind. And
So true.
I feel like that is something that a lot of people don't realize, is like pageantry for some people is their element, and like this goes for anyone, but like when you're in your element, there's a physical difference. Like you can see that you've lit up completely. And I feel like, if regardless of what you look like, if pageantry is your thing, if modeling is your thing, then strut, baby, because if it's your element, then own it.
Oh my God, there's so much strength that you can find and so much empowerment because you are putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself on a stage for people and judges. You're putting yourself in print and on a runway for people to look at and for you to represent a brand or whatever you're doing. Like, it's such a public thing that you can't help but feel some sort of strength within it because you're doing something so out of the ordinary.
Yeah. So, my last question of the night is, do you plan to continue theater, modeling, and/or pageantry throughout college and after college? And you've kind of answered this question already. But after college, what are your plans?
So I've taken a hiatus from pageantry. As much as I would have loved to compete this year, COVID has just kind of crushed that. Also, it's so much time, you guys. Like, if there's anything you're gonna take away from my conversation about pageantry, it's like you gotta want it, you gotta want it bad, and you gotta be ready to commit. And so I knew that this year probably wouldn't be the year. So I think I'm just gonna hold off until I can compete as a Miss contestant as an adult. And maybe I'll compete in the state of New York where I'll be living. Who knows? We'll see. Miss New York would be a nice title. But so yeah, I will want to do another pageant eventually. I've decided I just love the community so much, and it's so fun and so empowering for me. As far as theater goes and performing, like, that's my life. I'm gonna do it until I can't. And that's my whole thing. And so I definitely plan to continue with all of that. And with modeling, same thing. As much work as I can get, I will take. Again, COVID has made it hard, but as things are opening back up and studios are starting to shoot again and brands are starting to have bigger campaigns, I'm hoping to get some more work. And I'm just excited to see where everything's going to go. Gosh, I'm moving off to college soon. I'm just so excited for this path ahead of me.
I know. I'm so excited too. I'm literally so excited.
And it's like people like you people I've grown up with, and just people who are such instrumental parts of my circle. You guys have just been so essential in me and my feeling that I've succeeded and being able to do what I do. Just I can't express enough how valuable you've been in this process for me. I love you.
I love you too. I gotta be honest, always growing up, being in shows with you and seeing your shows and stuff, like, I'm speaking for myself, but definitely for a lot of other people who we've been in shows with. But girl, we look up to you so much. You are so
Whoa.
talented.
Gosh, thank you. It's like, if I can say anything, it's just have a support system who's gonna make you feel like what you're doing is right. And I mean, of course, you know yourself if like this is your element, like Gabby was saying, like if you're passionate about something, you'll know. But if you have a support group who reminds you and encourages you how passionate you are and how essential this thing is to your being and to your life, like, you will never quit and you will always feel motivated and always want to go for your dreams. And like, having that circle of people just was so essential, and I would not be anywhere near where I am without wonderful people like you.
Yeah, I can honestly say the same thing for so many things. Having gone to numerous different schools throughout the years, which, was never easy, leaving
No.
leaving people, but I feel like, I had that support system and I had friends that I knew would be there through it all. And,
Mhm.
you know, and I feel like even with COVID, I had a sense of like who was real and who was a friend from school.
Super telling.
Which,
It definitely revealed a
yeah.
lot about like who's your real group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I thought was so crazy. And I learned a lot about myself too, which was also really crazy. But yeah. Yeah, definitely keep a good circle. Um, keep a good support system. And if you don't have a support system, I am now your support system. And Valerie supports you and we love you.
Completely, 100%.
Yes, 100%. Um, so yeah, to leave you guys on a good note, again, you can be your own person. You don't have to live up to anyone else's expectations. If you're passionate about something, go for it. Totally disregard society and their stupid rules because
Yeah.
we don't need them. As long as you are living a life that you're proud of, that is all you need. Um, to live a life that you're happy in. Um,
Yeah. Live in your truth. And
yeah.
you know intuitively what you need to be doing with your life because you'll feel that it's the only thing you can do to be as happy as you possibly can. Like you will feel that.
Hmm.
You feel that, don't stop. Go for it, no
Yeah.
matter what anyone tells you.
Yeah. And connections over competition is the last
Yeah.
little tidbit. I cannot stress that enough. Living a life where you focus more on your connections and relationships with people as opposed to living in constant competition, you're going to live a much happier and much more successful life. Um, you know, it depends on how you see success, but the way I see it is not necessarily um, the career path. It's, the people that you're left surrounded by, I think is success. So,
100%.
yes. Alrighty. I think that about wraps up this episode. Valerie, thank you so much for joining me. It was so great seeing you again.
Thank you for having me. It was a joy to be on this wonderful podcast.
Of course. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.